Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 7 of the European Esports Series. It is round 7 here in F2 on its glorious Tuesday night, where 17 drivers, which may be 18 soon, ready themselves to go racing around the iconic Interlagos circuit. This race always stirs up some chaos and entertainment, and tonight will be no exception. We have only got 4 rounds left, and the title fight continues to heat up. It was MGA who took the win last time, Pucka with an amazing drive out in Qatar. But it is JSR who are having quite the comeback in this championship, just 17 points adrift of VMV at the front. After not scoring, or not racing, I should say, for the first 2 rounds, they are now on 103 points, picked up 103 from the last 4 rounds, and it is really between them two with just 4 rounds remaining. And an outside shot for MGA, Titan, and Nero, who are really battling for P3 as we close the final rounds. But Interlagos is always ready to throw up some carnage. And 18 minutes of qualifying to decide the grid, with the kick salver of Alex Norris being the first out on track. On the short track, 36 laps, so a lot for the drivers to get done. What a race we have in store today. He's followed closely by PLH. We are just missing one RB, so PLH for sole RB for now. Alex Norris will be the first one on track, looking to boost TTN to third in the standings ahead of them rivals MGA. But MGA obviously looking for back-to-back wins. Well, Alex Norris towards the line now and heading into turn 1 through the iconic Senna S's, hogging the apex and cut across turn 2. Don't do it too much, otherwise you will invalidate. On the inside of turn 3, hold the curve and then DRS deployed for the first time. ERS burning down towards turn 4 and heavy on the braking. Ease the car in, hug the apex and go out wide, then hug the apex again through flat out turn 5. And let's see, can he hold it flat out through turn 6? Little lift as he gets back on the traction, up 6th gear, and around turn 7 he goes. And into the heavy braking zone of turn 8, then back to the left around turn 9, and a double right-hander. Easy on the braking, chuck it in, and easy on the traction again. You don't want to get too greedy. Flat out around turn 11, and the final proper corner of the racetrack, turn 12. Very awkward apex, and then get on the traction, rise to the hill, and burn every bit of battery you have got left. And I think he's getting a nice bit of slipstream there from the car ahead, which is the VMB. But Alex Norris to set the benchmark of a 107.1. That's not a bad banker, I will say. It's a decent lap for the TCN. Next across the line will be PLH, who is a whopping second behind him for 108.2. A flurry of cars continuing on their laps. Next one to cross the line will be Pedro. The LVR, who currently sits... I couldn't even tell you. Either way, Pedro will be the next one to cross the line. We'll see if he can challenge the 107.1 set by Norris previously. He crossed the line with 107.3, not too far behind. But Sancho does beat Norris by 4 milliseconds. And BMV putting themselves where they are in the standings at the top. As the other VMB of Lucas goes to P4 or 107.3, fine margins at the top so far. MJ of Nazem will be next across the line. Up to the line goes Nathan, and that is the fastest time, a 107.1. Just half a tenth quicker than Sancho behind. A few more still yet to cross the line though. But MGA setting the pace early on. Xyrox will be the next cars across the line. As Frank Tank and CT Kiwi with a bit of unrepresentative times. The JSRs yet to set a lap yet. The most informed team currently, deciding to be a bit out of sync with the rest of the runners. Xyrox, where can he put his Ferrari? He goes to P4. So that's a good start to the session for MGA. As that is Flipper, who bumps himself up to P8. The other man on a lap is Palou. So due to it being a short lap, it's very easy for the drivers to get 3 laps and there is no hurry, which leaves a lot of drivers out of sync with each other. As NCC Kiwi set a more representative run this time with 107.7, he displaces his teammate. Palou will go to P12 with a lap time which is a bit off the pace, and there is the JSR of Portuguese Beast. And that's not how the team second standings would like to start their weekend, with one of their drivers spinning off turn 1 as we cut to Puckfucker, who is sliding his way through turn 7. I'm not sure that's the quickest way around that corner, but he has kept it on track and is still going. His teammate will have had to bail out of his lap after his spin. Climbing the hill goes the McLaren. And back down he goes, DRS deployed. And Puckfucker goes to P2. Just 4 milliseconds ahead of Sancho, but that is 4 constructors separated by half a tenth. And that is just how fine the margins are today. And it's also the top 4 in the standings currently. Those are your first runs. MGA seem like the team to beat at the minute. 2 cars in the top 4. But it's incredibly close margin to look down the field. 2 tenths from 1st to 8th, and just half a tenth from 1st to 4th. So all up for grabs, still with 10 minutes to go. And qualifying is important here, but it's not the most important on the calendar. It is very easy to overtake at Brazil. Still, that's not going to stop the drivers from wanting pole this evening. A few more cars coming out for their second runs now. Izan heading through first sector now, but not improving so far. Lucas, I think, is pitting. In the ESPL, he is unable to get close to his teammate up there in P6. That's a decent effort from Pedro in the Aston Martin outfit. ESPL come into this race 7th in the standings, so P6 in qualifying would be a pretty decent result for them. Izan's still on his lap though, and we'll see if he can move his Mazepan slightly up. Mazepan, the lowest scoring team this season that has been running all the races. Behind them is QSR, but they did only race last time out in Qatar, which they also remain scoreless. Izan up to the line, will jump to P7. That's not a bad lap from the Alpine. And that's definitely not a bad lap. Alex Norris with a 106.7 to jump to first. And that is quite the gap he's got now. The gap was half a tenth between the top 4. It's a lot bigger now that Alex Norris has set the pace. And everyone else has got to find 4th tenth they want to displace the TCN. And it's not going to be Nathan on this lap because he's invalidated. Pedro with a bit of a slide out of turn 4. I think that would have cost him a bit of time. But a lot more cars coming out for their second runs now. Pedro's still going on his lap though, I think. He's not giving up, despite that slide at turn 4. So through the middle sector now, and he's slightly down. Only chance of an improvement is if he gets a mighty slipstream, but I think he's just a bit too far away from that car in front to gain anything. And he's pissing, so Pedro realises he's not going to improve. Sancho, though, is up in the first sector. And it's crucial for VMV to out-qualify JSR today. The other JSR Portuguese still down in 16th. So we could do joining with joining his teammate up at the front, otherwise Hooker will have to fight a lonely battle. And this is a good lap from Sancho over a 10th up still, and is there a bit of slipstreaming going on? I think that's just worked really well in Sancho's favour. That is a wonderful slipstream from the Haas down the straights. I'm not sure how much Sancho paid him, but it's going to help him massively up to the line. It's a 107.0, and despite that massive slipstream, still cannot hold a finger to Alex Norris at the moment, as Lucas in the other BMW jumps to P4. So good lap for him. Zyrox are going for a lap now. Nazen is off track. But Alex Norris, that time is really standing the test of time so far. See if Zyrox can do anything about it in the other MGA. Now if Kiwi goes to P6 with a decent lap in the Williams. Next are currently 8th in the standings, so P6 in quali would also be a very good result for them. And Zyrox, he's not going to improve because he's gone off somewhere, off into the grass at turn 10. No idea what has happened there, but one to keep an eye on is Portuguese down in P17. JSR need to continue to gain points on BMB this evening if they want to win this title. And into turn 12 and rising the hill. This looks like a pretty clean lap from McLaren, hogging the inside as much as he dares. He's the last man really to set a representative time. The Portuguese up to the line does jump to P5, so that's a better lap for him. And if you look behind Alex Norris, the margins are incredibly fine. From P11 to P2 it's 3 tenths, but everybody else can't seem to find a way back. And Pucker tried to go for another lap, but he span out at turn 4. So last week's race winner having a few difficulties early on in this qualifying session. Still JSR, P5 and 6 isn't too bad for them so far. I think everybody just deciding to pit now to await their final runs. And everybody will come into the pits as Andreas peels in. Palu really the only one without a representative time. Both McLarens still out on track. They'll arrive to the pit lane slightly later than usual. But that is your running, and it's going to take 3 tenths if everyone wants to catch Alex Norris. And 3 tenths at a track like Brazil is quite the margin. To find 3 tenths on everybody else at a track like this is rather impressive. But behind though, it's all to play for. Just 3 tenths could see you jump up about 10 positions. So 4 minutes to go. We await for the final runs to go out on track, and the Haas of Palu has decided to go out very out of sync. It's currently last, so maybe he's deciding to try something different. Aston Martin is also coming out. So a few cars deciding to go out early compared to the rest. They've got to hope that they don't start their lap as others are coming out the pit lane. Otherwise, they may encounter a bit of traffic. But Palu last on the runners so far. His teammate P12. These will be the final runs of the session with just over 3 minutes to go. starting his final lap of the session. This is his last chance to jump himself up the order. We'll see what Polo can do. USR only having one race. They aren't really fighting for anything. And last time out they didn't score anything in Qatar, so they are really just trying to salvage some results at the end of this season. But a good qualifying would help them on their way. As a lot more drivers start to peel out the pit lane now. So Polo up the hill to turn 10. Keeping his car on track. Whether it's quick, we'll find out. But he just needs any improvement really if he wants to jump the cars in front. He's only found 3 tenths, so it's not looking great. He needs to find more like 2 seconds. Slightly Polo is going to stay in P10. Pedro though, he is improving, and he is a car in that gaggle, which if you find just a small improvement, you could see yourself jump a lot of positions. So Pedro for EFES up to the line now, and he will jump to P5. That is a very good lap from Pedro and a decent effort. The ESPL outfit. If he can hold on to that, that would be very impressive. If he's got enough battery, he could go again. He's got enough fuel, I should say. Lucas and Sancho starting their laps now. They're the two to keep an eye on. 2 VMBs looking to retain their crown. Portuguese and Pucker also starting their laps soon. Alex Norris will try and extend his lead out in front. Nathan, one of the last to set a lap. As there is Pedro going off track to stay out of the way of the cars behind. Let's keep with Lucas now, though. We'll try and usurp his teammate up to P2. Can he get anywhere near Alex Norris in P1? If TCM want to go, and he's backed off. Lucas has backed off. You think he's not going to improve, so he's just going to try and recharge that battery last second. And there's a Williams coming around the final corner. Are they on a lap? I think Flipper is on a lap, and in fact, the Red Bull's actually giving him a very nice tow. So kindness from Sancho here as he slipstreams him down to the line. And we'll see where Flipper can go up to, and he jumps up to P12 because of that. What's Lucas doing behind? Oh, actually, I think they're both backed off. They're both restarting a lap now. Or is Sancho coming in the pits? Never mind, Sancho, for some reason, is pitting. He does not have enough fuel to go again. So Sancho is only P2 at max. Alex Norris, though, is improving. A 10th up in the middle sector. He looks untouchable today. So rounding the final corner, Alex Norris, can he extend his lead up front? Dyrox went to P4, that's a good result for MGA. Puckerfucker goes to P2, but Alex Norris extends his lead. Nazen is the only one left to stop him, and he goes to P2, ahead of Pucker. Crucial for MGA, that. But what have the 2 VMVs got in store? They went for their laps late. Sancho's retired. Kiwi goes to P5, a great effort for him. And VMB is slightly up. Lucas may be able to jump into the top 4 around where his teammate is. Frank Tank is P12, so the other VMB will only be P12. And Lucas will stay in P7, only improve slightly. What is JSR doing in the form of Portuguese? He is slightly up. So a good last sector could see Beast jump up into the top 4. It'd be crucial if he was next to his teammate Pucker. And up to the line comes Portuguese. He'll want to be higher than P9, and he does go to P4. Good lap at the death for Portuguese Beast. I think that is your session, unless a few runners at the back can usurp others. Maxime stays in P14, and PLH is grinding to a halt on the line. So that is your grid. Nobody could touch Alex Norris, taking a brilliant pole for TTN. Nazen in P2 also with a good effort for NGA. JSR, the biggest winners out of this, P3 and 4. That is a crucial position for their championship fight. And the championship leaders only P5 and P8. They'll be disappointed with that in the end. The NXR of Kiwi, though, that is a very impressive effort to get P6 for a team that's only scored 27 points all season. That is a very good lap. NGA P2 and 7 as well, they'll be one to keep an eye out for. And TCN, the only thing they'll be disappointed about is Frank down in P12 with how quick Alex Norris was. Onto the race we go, where we are finally poised in this race. TCN MGA battling for third in the standings, and JSR and VMB battling for the title, which is going to leave some interesting intertwines. Quite a convergence of teams may go on in the race here. The RBs, though, 5th in the standings. They're in that fight for P3 in the standings. 15th and 16th. They have been nowhere this session. What a disappointing race that was. The session, I should say, for them. Obviously, anything can happen in Brazil. And let's also double check that there is no rain as we load into the session. And frankly, for the drivers, it is sunny skies for now. Whether it'll stay that way is the question. But I think every driver on the grid will be happy with a dry race. If Alex Norris can replicate that quali pace, who knows what he can do in this race. And JSR, it'll be interesting how they play this. They know they've got a good chance to outscore VMB today. But do they go for the win, or are they just focused on keeping Sancho and Lucas behind? And MGA and TCM will do their best to get in the mix because they still have hope that they can win this title. And Brazil, I assume it would be a one-stop. Medium hard will probably be the most sensible option. But don't be surprised if you do see a few runners at the back try something audacious. Get going soon for round 7. Just 3 rounds left after this. And the title continues to get closer and closer with every race. And another big point haul for JSR this evening could be crucial as we head into the final 3 rounds. Alex Norris and MGA are looking to stir that pot. We'll see. He hasn't got any backup, Alex Norris. His teammate is down in P12, but we'll see if he can replicate that pace and transform it into a crucial win for TCM. Don't want to race yet, TCN, so this would be a big moment for them to get back in the title race, but we should get going any minute now. Oh, Frank was taken out in quali. Right, that's interesting to know. So that is a detriment to the other TCM. But we are ready to get going then for round 7 of the F2 Championship here in Interlagos. And we are away in Brazil. The lights go out as Alex Norris looks to cover off the Ferrari behind. We head into the centre rest as Nathan has a look down the inside, but now on the outside of him is Puka on the inside into turn 2, takes a position, shovels the Ferrari out wide, and now Portuguese fancies his chance around the outside of his teammate as well. Brilliant start for Beast, up to P2. Nathan drops to P4, 3 wide behind as the Red Bull goes wheel to wheel with the Ferrari, heading down into turn 4. Chaos here as the 2x2 worrying through turn 4. Arias is up to P5. What a start from him as Sancho tumbles down to P6. He's now on the inside of the Alpine that has to settle behind. Kiwi has dropped down to P7 as well. Izan in P8 as we head into turn 9. Few people shaping for a move front wing end plate there. falling off the Alpine, I think, as Frank is up 3 positions. That's crucial to TCM this evening. But Alex Norris out in front with a brilliant start, managing to hold that lead. If we have a look at the tyres, mediums for every single runner. So no strategy diversion at the moment. Whether that'll stay a 1-stop or a 2-stop, we will see. But Pucker down to P3, losing the position to his teammates. If we have a look at the biggest gainers in this race, up 6 positions. Arcades with an absolutely incredible start. NZPN both having great starts. 8 positions gained in total for them. And Frank with a great start up to P9 if he wants to score TCM a big points haul today. We head into turn 1 for the second time. Andreas making a move on Lucas behind as they're nearly 3 wide as we head through turn 2 now. Lucas on the inside, that turns to the outside for turn 3. And a huge slide for Andreas, who loses position to his teammate PLH behind, and he slides down to P16, and now PLH has a look on the inside of Lucas. Does he go down the inside? No, just stays behind for now. Meanwhile, they're still battling ahead, and Maxime goes off the track. He gets overtaken by Flipper, and now Maxime gets shuffled out wide. Aston Martin on the grass there, as Pedro now tries to go back round the outside of Maxime. 3 wide we go into turn 8, and behind Maxime, now on the inside of Lucas, Andreas watches on, trying to get ahead. Zyrox is down to P17. He's had a disastrous start, and he's now battling again with the RB. These two shuffling Zyrox behind as again the Ferrari tries to find his way down the inside. Can't quite get ahead, and it's crazy battling back here. We cut back to the leaders. Alex Norris, he's transforming that McLaren, pacing qualifying into the race. And it's 1.4 seconds clear, and now the 2 JSRs have inverted, maybe showing that one is faster than the other. But Nazen is having a look at Portuguese as well as Sancho. Gets up into P5. He's dropped back a bit from the train ahead. And if DMV want to win this race, they really need to get back up to the back of this train, as Pucker is desperate to get back in the DRS of Alex Norris. But that Kick Sauber has got a lot of pace today, and JSR may struggle to keep with him. He's burning every bit of battery he's got to stay in the second gap of that Kick Sauber, and we'll see if he can keep it through that middle sector. Flipper has come into the pit lane to change his front wing. Maybe he was the car that we saw losing a bit of his end plate. Zyrox is at a terrible start, but he's back up to P15 now, overtaking PLH. I don't know what happened to him, maybe a bit of spin, but either way, a disastrous start for him. The other MGA of Nazen also down 2 positions, so overall, not a very good start for MGA. As we head around the final corner, Alex, crucially in that middle sector, did enough to keep Pucker at bay, and Pucker still without the ERS, and Alex Norris with a slight advantage in ERS as well. So everything going incredibly well for Alex Norris so far. We'll see if he can continue that pace later on. Sancho leading a huge train for P5 as Arcades, Kiwi, Izan, Frank Tank and Pedro, or Lucas I should say, foul through. They're all in an MBB sandwich as their contact. Kiwi slams into the back of the 2 Alpines, and that is a disaster for NZPN. They were having such a good race, but now they're both tumbled down the order. What on earth happened at turn 1 there? Izan's P15, Arcade's P12, and now he's trying to get back at Maxime, and Andreas fouls through behind as well. Down the inside he goes on the Haas, shuffled wide nearly into this side pod, and now on the inside of turn 5, and he nearly spins as well. And now the Haas goes off the track. It's chaotic battling back here, and they still will to into turn 6 now, right outside goes Andreas. Maxime will hold that position on the inside now of turn 7, and he does just stay ahead. Zyrox now trying to thread his way through, more contact made as we head our way around turn 7. But what on earth happened between the 2 MZPNs there? They have tumbled down, and there's nearly a spin for Kiwi, who's got a lot of wing damage from that contact. And now Lucas and Pedro are up to P8 and 9. This is great stuff for ESPL as we head through the final corner. Still the huge train Constantine up after that contact, and I think we may see a few pitters after that early contact. Meanwhile, Nazen has now split the 2 JSRs. Action everywhere you look here at Interlagos, and that is detrimental for them. I think they were hoping to tow each other along, but Nazen has stirred the pot and has got up into P3. Pucker trying to get it back, but he has no help, and Nazen takes back P3, and Frank Tank now up 6 positions. What a race he is having. That also has allowed 2 VMBs to get up to P5 and P7, and Sancho, if you actually have a look at his wing, he has actually got a bit of wing damage, and it's not really showing in his pace so far. He's still doing an alright job, but you can see there that will be costing in time. Frank Tank will be putting him under all sorts of pressure come the later laps. The 2 Aston Martins are running a great race in P8 and 9, up 1 and 6 positions respectively. They're dragging along Arcades, who had that contact before, and who will be fired up to take those positions back. And hopefully now we can finally calm down after those chaotic first 4 laps. And Izan, I don't know if he got damage from it as well, but he is in this train as well. From P8 all the way down to P15 within the DRS of each other. And speaking of in the DRS, Nazen looks to overtake Beast, and he now takes P2. So maybe the GSR is trying to work with Nazen here to see if they can catch him back up. Meanwhile, TCM making moves. Frank Tank on the outside of Sancho takes a position, and that is now up 7 positions. Or is it because he slides out of turn 2, and Sancho now looks to get him back down the back straight. DRS and ERS deployed, and now having a look to the inside, turn 4, Frank Tank squeezes into the inside, Sancho on the inside, right outside, Frank will hang it, and now back to the inside goes Sancho, shuffling the kicks out wide, and is he going to give it up? I think he is. Thinks better of a move into turn 7, and Lucas now will look to capitalise on the squabbles in front. But the VMB is battling the TCNs, and the MGA is battling the JSRs in the battle for the top 7. And the 2 ESPLs dragging along this whole train. Arcades has got a lot of pace in this race, but he's just unable to show it for now. Stuck behind Lucas, Maxime is stuck behind him, and Zyrox is also got a lot of pace in this race. MGA could have had a decent race today, and they can still, but Zyrox has got to put in a mega drive here if he wants to score a lot of points, and he's got a good exit there on Maxime, right in the wheel tracks of the Haas as we round the final corner. ERS and DRS deployed, gaining and gaining on the Haas, not quite enough to get alongside. He's going to shape for a move down the inside in turn 1. Yes, he is. And there's a bit of wing damage for Maxime, and I don't think he's going to fight it too hard. Zyrox with a nice move there. Back up to P11, and he's regaining that lost ground he lost on the opening lap. And now we'll look at the cars in front. Meanwhile, Sancho versus Frank, round 2, as Frank on the inside this time, and will take the position off of Sancho. Sancho will look for the switch back. Does he go back down the inside? No, he doesn't, but he does let his teammate Lucas by. Good team play there by VMB. I think Sancho's realised with his wing damage he has not got the pace of his teammate, so now Lucas will try and have a go at Frank instead. Then are a whopping 4.7 seconds behind the train in front. This is not what VMB need. JSR 17 points behind them coming into this race, and as it stands, I don't think they'd quite take the lead of the constructors, but it would make things very nervy heading into the final 3 races for VMB, and it will be all to play for in the title. Nazen, though, is throwing a spanner in the works for them. He drags along the 2 JSRs, who will eventually want to get back past Nazen. For now, I think they're just content with staying behind. Alex Norris, that gap still staying around 2 seconds. We haven't really commented on Norris today, but what a race he is having. 2 seconds out front, and he's not letting those behind get anywhere near close. Portuguese shaping for a move, just stays behind. Meanwhile, though, Zyrox trying to make more progress as we head around turn 3. Lucas gets back ahead of Frank. We're heading down the straight. Is Zyrox going to be close enough to shape for a move? Just stays behind. Down the inside goes Arcades. On the inside, the Aston Martin. They both go off. Hamilton Verstappen replica 2021. And now Lucas concedes a position to Zyrox, who's now trying to have a look on the outside of Arcades. Just has to stay behind. Meanwhile, Lucas and Frank battling. Lucas got ahead, and now Sancho's trying to get back ahead of Frank. He just has to stay behind. But battles everywhere you look here at Interlagos. And then now 6.4 seconds. This battling between the VMBs and the TCNs is dropping them so far behind the leaders, and this is really detrimenting their chances of winning this race. And Pedro, crucially, with that battling, he's actually managed to break the DRS of Arcades and Zyrox behind. Meanwhile, JSR's decide it's time to switch positions again, and Portuguese Beast will now have a go at chasing down Alex Norris. The Booker goes very wide into turn 1. He won't want to be taking that line again. As Lucas now trying to hold off Frank to let his teammate Sancho get back in the mix, and here comes Sancho in the Red Bull burning his battery, but it's actually Frank who's having a go at Lucas on the inside at turn 4, trying to hold it around the outside of Lucas, and he will do expertly. Brilliant fight back there from Lucas on the outside, and Frank will just have to give that position up, and into turn 6 we go. Sancho has a look down the inside, but just stays behind. I can't actually tell you exactly why he lost it. And Pucker's out of the race. Pucker is out of the race. I cut away from a fight, but Pucker has crashed. The JSR is out of the race, and what was an incredible race for JSR so far is out. I don't know whether he had a bit of help from Nazan on his way or it was just a plain mistake, but Pucka, last week's race winner, is out of the Brazilian Grand Prix. A calamity for JSR there, and it is the virtual safety car, and we're going to see a lot of pitters here. Alex Norris, crucially, I think had already passed the pit lane when it came out. Portuguese and Nazan are in. These three are staying out. Well, last week's race winner with an uncharacteristic mistake. Anyway, as I was saying, I can't exactly tell you why Kiwi lost position, but he had a collision with the two Alpines. I don't know who was at fault, but we'll find out later. But this is now throwing the race on its head, and now Lucas under pressure from Frank Tank, and all of a sudden it's a TTN 1-2. They started first and 12th, and Frank Tank is up 10 positions. An incredible comeback this from Frank Tank. Xyrox now ahead of Lucas, Portuguese, and well, Portuguese has come out in P7 after he pitted. Nazan has come out in P10, so we've actually got a 2-car buffer there, Portuguese. Then pit stops have worked out quite well for him. We get the tyre graphic up. Portuguese and Nazan both went to the hard tyres. It's crucial that the McLaren clears these cars as quickly as possible. Because the longer he gets held up behind these guys, the less of the gain he's got on Alex Norris. I'm rounding outside of turn 10. That could get dicey. Have to look down inside turn 12, but every lap he spends behind these cars is just more of a detriment on his race. But rising the hill, he'll look to make quick work of Lucas on the inside now of the final corner. Is Lucas going to fight this too much? He's burning his battery though. I don't think he wants to give it up easily. They're both gaining on Xyrox in front. He won't be in a hurry to let him by. Portuguese down the inside gets ahead. Lucas just has to go wide. BMB Lucas gets a 3-second time penalty. That's going to be detrimental to BMB's race as Lucas slides around the corner. Nazan will opt to make quick work of Maxime down the straight. I think Maxime will be eager to give this up. He is burning his battery down the straight. Meanwhile, Portuguese down the inside of Xyrox. You don't want to be making too risky of a moves after what just happened to your teammate, Portuguese. And now having a look on the inside of turn 6, is he? No, he isn't. Nazan, though, is. And he's back up to P8, getting ahead of Maxime as Portuguese is still trying to get ahead. And Xyrox is doing his teammate a big favour here to try and get back up. It's not going to last, though, because Portuguese is finally ahead. And Xyrox did what he could to help his teammate close up to the back of the JSR. But it only lasted a lap or two. And now it's Nazan's turn to try and clear Lucas. Xyrox should let him by. Still got to get past this Aston Martin if he wants to catch the McLaren back up. Around the final corner we go for the 12th time. Alex Norris leads us by 11.5 seconds. But these two are out of sync with the pit stop on alternate strategy. Nazan to the outside of Lucas, burning every bit of battery he has got left. It's crucial he gets past the Aston Martin here. I think Lucas is going to fight this too much, and he does just let him go. As Andreas becomes the second victim of a penalty today. Xyrox, Nazan's teammate, should just let his teammate by as we head down the straight. I don't think this will be too difficult for Nazan. Good teamwork there by MGA to invert, and Xyrox manages to stay ahead of Lucas in the process. So Nazan, despite coming out 2 positions behind Portuguese, has cleared the cars and is back up right behind the JSR. So this could be the net battle for the lead, Portuguese versus Nazan, depending on how the pit stops play out later. I think these two will be on a 2-stop. It's going to be very difficult for the teams to make to the end from here. Alex Norris, though, and Frank and the 2 VMBs, I think they are definitively on a 1-stop. I think that is Alex's only way of winning this race now. And Nazan tried to stay in the DRS of Portuguese, but I think Portuguese may have just dropped it. Yes, he did. Portuguese burning everything he's got to keep the Ferrari out the DRS. But now they come up to a different obstacle. They are now right on the back of Sancho, Lucas and Frank. And they are titled, they are constructors' rivals, so I'm not sure BMB will be too eager to let Portuguese go. Neither will TTN for the MGA of Nazan, so this could get quite interesting as we head into turn 4. These 3 foul through. Sancho, with that wing damage, is dropping back a bit. I think his tyres are starting to wear a little bit more than the others because that wing damage is just going to make it a little more difficult to get around all the corners. We thread our way through the middle sector. Portuguese already caught up to the back of Sancho. And he needs to make quick work of the VMB. He really needs to just push flat out now till the rest of the race. if he wants any hope of catching Alex Norris. But around the final corner, that is a mighty exit from the McLaren. MGA Nathan watches on, and he watches Portuguese gets ahead of Sancho, and that is crucial for his race to get up to P4. And I think Nathan will try and follow him through. Is he going to be close enough to shape through a move? Just has to stay behind. And this is going to be frustrating if he can't get in here, as Nathan looks for the switchback. So much more grit than Sancho. Around the outside of turn 3, but crucially Sancho with more ERS is going to try and stay ahead. Heading down into turn 4. Is Nathan going to go down the inside? Yes, he does, late on the brakes, and Sancho is defenseless against the Ferrari. So both the fresh, hard runners clear Sancho, but they've still got 2 more to go, Lucas and Frank. And I'm sure Alex will be telling his teammate, do not let these 2 by, they are who I'm racing. And it's crucial that you hold them up as much as possible. And Lucas now under pressure from Beast, as Nathan watches the 2 in front battle. Nicely done there by Portuguese to get up into P3. And now he's only got 1 car left to dispatch. Nathan will try to follow him through by getting past Lucas. Lucas with a 3-second penalty as well. That's detrimental to BMB's race. That's coming out the final corner. Nathan with a lovely exit. Having a look to the outside of the final corner. Can't get by. Portuguese, though, is on the outside of Frank Tank, and he takes a position. Nathan does finally get ahead of Lucas. Lucas doesn't want to give this up. He's burning the battery he's got left. But on the inside is Nathan, who does take P4. And now Frank Tank will try and hold behind Nathan as we come out of turn 3. It's so much more grit for Nathan coming out the final corner, but Frank Tank has got more battery and he will be unable to clear him. That is going to be very frustrating for the Ferrari. This lap might allow Portuguese to just get away from these 2, and this may end up being the fight for the lead. So keep an eye on this gap now, 12 seconds between Alex and Portuguese. That is your net fight for the lead, and it's all about whether Portuguese can get that gap down. He's gone 15 laps on the mediums, Alex Norris. You'd expect him to pit sometime soon. As I expected, that gap is increasing between Frank and Portuguese, and not getting past last lap has proved detrimental, and Nathan has had to wait the whole lap behind Frank to get this move done, as Alex now does finally pit. The race leader is into the pit lane, and Portuguese will take over the reins in the lead of this race. Portuguese in second, goes to first. Nathan now gets ahead of Frank Tank, and he is unleashed behind the back of that Kicks Albert to try and hunt down Portuguese again. Where is Alex Norris going to come out? Changing to the hard tyres as expected. I think he's going to come out in a nice bit of clear air through turn 1 and 2. And he does actually only come out in P5, so he's got a nice clean bit of air here. He's only got Sancho and Frank ahead of him, and them 2 should pit sometime soon. So Alex with some nice clean air to push into, and he can really just manage until the end of this race now. The only gap he needs to be concerned with is the gap of when Nathan and Portuguese come into the pit lane. Nathan will just be focused on trying to reel in Beast after he extended his gap back out, because these 2 will be hunting down Alex come the end of this race. And which strategy will work out, we will find out, because that virtual safety car has thrown up a lot of mysteries in this race. Still a mystery as to why Pucker crashed at turn 9. Whether he got a hit from Nathan or he just crashed on his own, getting a bit squirrely on the exit, we do not know. But Portuguese and Nathan aren't the only one on this strategy, as Frank Tank sadly speeds in the pit lane, and he was having such a good race, but that is really going to harm his progress. Probably putting behind Sancho and those behind. Lucas was also another one having a good race, but he's got a 10-second penalty as well. So the pit lane causing a lot of problems for the drivers today. And quite a few with 10-second penalties now. So Arcades and Pedro were 2 that also followed Alex and also followed Nathan and Beast in the pits, I should say. As Zyrox gets a 3-second time penalty. He is on fresh hards, and he's now looking at Maxime ahead. And he's getting up to P8. He's actually had a good comeback, Zyrox, as Izan gets out of PLH as well. He's had a very good comeback, Zyrox. If you just have a look at penalties, a few for track limits, but a lot for speeding in the pit lane. None of the top 5 with penalties yet, though. And just for reference, Alex does not have to pit. Lucas, Frank, and Zyrox don't have to pit. And the only other people left in this race who do still have to pit are Izan, Portuguese, Nathan, Arcades, and Pedro. Those that are still in the running for the highly contested spots. But Zyrox is ahead of this mini train here. Maxime follows him through, followed by the two RBs who have got Izan in the middle of them. What Alpine could have done today if they didn't have that incident early on with Kiwi, as Sancho, looking to salvage his race, gets up to P13. I think he changed his front wing when he came into the pits, which explains why he's a bit further down. Yes, he did. That end plate is back on now. So Sancho trying to salvage some points for his team. Meanwhile, Lucas has caught the back of Pedro. And Frank Tank is now looking to get back ahead of Lucas after he lost that position in the pit stops. Pedro on old hard tyres. He does still have to pit in this race. Whether he's going to fight this too hard, I'm not sure. But the longer they get held up, the more Zyrox can catch up to these two. And MGA could be on for an incredible result here. Coming out the final corner, Frank Tank will be all over the back of the BMB. And very slowly after mine, almost queuing up and he wants to pit, but Frank Tank isn't having that. On the inside of Lucas now, it's a double overtake for the Kick Sauber. Back down the inside though, goes Lucas wheel to wheel with him, barging wheels through the centre S's, and I think Frank Tank just has to back out. Brilliant racing there for Lucas to get back ahead of the Kick Sauber, and it's going to be round 2 as we head down into turn 4. Frank gaining on Lucas, but I think he's just going to think better of it for now and stays behind the Red Bull. So Lucas not willing to give up the position, and Frank Tank, he has got 10 seconds worth of penalty, so Lucas will finish ahead of him either way. Zyrox has also got a penalty, but he is catching this train very quickly. Maxime is also being dragged along with him, despite being on older hard tyres, and he's actually got wing damage, but he's actually got decent pace, Maxime has. And meanwhile, looking at the gap out front, it's staying about 2 seconds between the top two. And Norris, it's staying around 7 seconds between him and the leader Portuguese. But all he has to do is manage to the end. These two do still have to pit again. Meanwhile, Lucas, Frank, round 2. Heading down the straight, DRS, ERS, and now a move to the inside. Is Lucas going to fight this as hard as he did last time? I think he just thinks better of it. And Frank Tank does get up to P5. He has got fresher hard tyres, so we'll see if he's got the pace to try and pull away from Lucas now. But with 10 seconds worth of penalties, that is going to be difficult for him to salvage anything more than a top 5, really. Pedro, considering he's got 6 off older tyres, is still running with these two, so he's doing a decent job in the EFPL. Zyrox is catching these 3 as well. Maxime not too far behind, and then a mini train here of the 2 RBs, Izan and Sancho, who's got the freshest hards of this lot. So Sancho will look to make quick work of these cars. BMD need as many points as they can get today. Sancho wants to make no time getting past us. Down the inside there goes PLH on Izan. Shuffles him a little bit wide, and now Sancho looks for the switch. About 3 wide we go, and that was always going to end badly into turn 10. Sancho goes for a half spin. PLH now on the inside of Izan, and into the final corner we go. Sancho will look for another switchback as we head out of turn 12. Nearly more contact. Sancho on the inside of Izan. As who's going to get the DRS? PLH has gotten on. Izan going to get overtaken by both of them. To the outside now goes Sancho. Sancho to the outside of Izan. And he's going to get put on the grass. He just has to back out last second. PLH files through in P13. But a chaotic turn of events there. Down in the places for P11, and now it's Sancho who will try and get ahead of Izan as well. Having a look to the inside, maybe just stays behind. So Sancho knows he's got more pace than these cars around him, but he needs to clear them quickly if he wants to salvage some good points for the MB today. He doesn't go down the inside, no he doesn't. He's all over the back of the Alpine in front. Does he go down the inside again? Yes he does. This time it's a lot more audacious. And now on the inside, that turns to the outside for turn 8. Izan doesn't want to give it up, but all the way around the outside goes Sancho. A lovely move from the Red Bull to get up into P11. And Sancho nicely done does finally get ahead of the two cars he was battling with for so long. Zyrox now has rocked up to the back of Pedro. Lucas has actually lost touch a bit with Frank Tank in front, so Frank with some very good pace. And it's just disappointing he got that 10-second penalty because what he could have done without it. Arcade's running his own little race in P4. Alex is homing in on the two leaders, but you would expect that with fresher tyres. Meanwhile, Sancho didn't actually get the move done. Izan's coming back at him, heading into turn 2. Does he finally just stay ahead, Sancho? Sancho is desperate to hold on to P11, but Izan is coming at him down the back straight. Having a look to the outside of turn 4. On the inside, Sancho goes back down the inside, clobbers a curb, contact made, and there goes spinning is the Red Bull. Coming back on the track, and what a disaster day Sancho is having in the VMB. And no matter what happens today, VMB are not going to be the highest scoring team. They're going to get outscored by a loss of their rivals, and it will be game on in the standings after that. So, this race has been nothing short of drama. We would expect that from Interlagos of all places. The top 3 separated by 5.4 seconds. You do ask the question, could Nathan and Portuguese get to the end as Zyrox gets ahead of Pedro for P7? But could these two get to the end? I think that is the question on everyone's mind. 26 laps on hard tyres is quite the distance. And I think they would be better off just stopping again for mediums, but if they do want to stop again for mediums, I would expect them in around 2 to 3 laps time, because they need to give themselves enough time to catch Norris by the end of the race. But they could try and stay out now and just coast to the end. Meanwhile, Frank Tank has caught Arcades, who is the other driver on the similar strategy. Pedro also on that similar strategy. He's down to P8. As Frank Tank fouls through, having a look at Arcades in front. That's some good straight line speed for the Alpine. He does not want to let Frank Tank by. Having a look to the outside, he's going to get pushed off track, nearly on the grass. That could get risky. Arcades hangs it on the inside, but we'll just have to back out, and Frank Tank does take P4. Crucial move that for CCN. A few cars in the pits at the back. As going back ahead is Arcades. Frank Tank ran out of battery. I thought he had enough. But that is frustration for the TCN. Meanwhile, crucially, Pedro, who was on the alternate strategy with Nathan and Portuguese, he has pitted again. So he doesn't think he can get to the end as Sancho gets ahead of Lucas for P11. He doesn't think he can get to the end. So we'll see what the leaders do now. Do they pit? Portuguese stays out. And Nathan stays out. Are they trying to get to the end? Their pace isn't that bad. Norris is catching them, but not catching them severely. And it is only a 6-lap difference, so maybe they are trying to get to the end. That is going to leave them with crazy wear on tyre come the end of this race. Meanwhile, Arcades is still trying to fend off Frank Tank behind. And then into turn 1, Lucas has now joined the fight again. He's going down inside of Frank Tank and contact made, and he just has to stay behind. Looking to capitalise on any errors Frank Tank makes, and Zyrox is continuing to catch this trio. So expect the MGA to rock up on the scene soon. Here comes Frank Tank though, down the inside of turn 4. That's audacious send, and he's going to go wide in the process. Arcades looks for the switchback, and I think he realised that move was not on, and he lets him back high, and now Lucas looks to get through as well. Rounding outside of Frank Tank, laps in judgment there from the Kicks-Alba. Wheel to wheel into turn 8 we go. On the inside, that turns to the outside for turn 9, and round the outside goes Frank Tank, trying to stay ahead of Lucas, and I think he just about will. But him realising that he overtook Arcades off track, he had to let that position get back through. But that left him vulnerable to the Red Bull behind. And Zyrox, I said he'd be there soon, and now he's right on the back of the E3. They are battling way too much in this race. And Lucas now to the outside. Is that the Alpine in the pit lane? Yes, it is. So Arcades doesn't think he can make to the end of this race. Heading into turn 1 now. Is Lucas going to shape for a move? No, he isn't. and he just stays behind. And now Zyrox is free to chase after Lucas, and keep in mind, them two have got the same amount of penalties, so that will be 4 position. They're going to get ahead of Frank Tank, but MGA could be the highest scorers of the day if they finish, what, P2 and 4 they could at this rate. Meanwhile, the leaders, you really think they've got to pit now if they are going to pit. Norris is catching them quickly, and I think it's now or never. Do they pit or do they risk it and try and stay out? If they pit, it's guaranteed them a podium. It just probably means they won't be able to catch Norris. But what do Beast and Nathan do? Beast is staying out, Nathan is also staying out, and as the laps tick by, I think we get in the sense of these two are trying to get to the end. 10 laps remaining, and that would be some accomplishment, doing 26 laps on the hard tyres. Arcade, who is on a similar strategy, has pitted. He doesn't think he can get to the end. It is fresh hards now. He'll be one of the fastest people on the track. Sancho, after having that spin, he's actually clawed his way back through the field. After his trials and tribulations, he's actually back up to P8, so that's not a bad recovery at all. Zyrox is having a great recovery as well, up to P6, a net P5 after his penalty, as there is Lucas having a look on the inside of Frank. Just stays behind for now. But Zyrox could be P4 here after he was last at the end of lap 1. And that would be some recovery and some race for MGA. Meanwhile, Alex has finally caught up to Nathan. 6 lap fresher hard tyres. And this will be interesting to see what Nathan does here. Does he just let Alex go and hope that he can be dragged along by the TCN to the back of Portuguese, because Nathan just can't quite catch the McLaren of Portuguese at the moment? Or does he want to hold P2? Does he not want to give up this second place? And does he try and keep Alex behind for as long as possible? So a lot of questions lingering as we only have 8 laps in this race to go. And it's a race against the clock for whether Alex can catch Portuguese. I think it is safe to say these two are trying to get to the end. Their tyre wear is going to be incredibly high in the end, and we could be in puncture territory. But these two are now committed to a one-stop. That early BSC gave them the opportunity, and that is why they are in the lead of this race. But Nathan and Portuguese are going to be, what, 2 sweaty drivers come the end of this race, because Alex Norris is going to be bearing down on them two. And Nathan's already having to deal with it now, although he's holding his own pretty well in this middle sector to keep that gap to Norris. So coming out the final corner, I think that tyre wear is showing, because Norris is a lot closer to the back of Nathan. And I think Nathan is not actually going to fight this. He wants to let Norris go, and through goes Norris into P2. The TCN ahead of Nathan now. 2.5 seconds is the gap to Portuguese. And with 8 laps to go, Nathan will be desperate to stick with Norris. And this could become a 3-way fight for the lead soon. So do not go anywhere, folks. This is going to be a climatic ending to this race. Kiwi also got the fastest lap in this race. What a disappointing race he's had. What could have been for him after that early start, but that collision with the 2 Alpines sent him spiralling down, and he hasn't really been able to recover since. Meanwhile, these 3 still right with each other. I think Lucas is happy to stay where he is because he knows that Frank has got a penalty. He's going to finish ahead of him, and as long as he stays in the DRS of Frank, Zyrox won't be able to get clear. So Lucas is happy to hang on to what will be P4 for now. Maxime is running a very lonely race in P7, but he could be on P6 after penalties. Meanwhile, Carnage behind as the 2 Aston Martins look to pick their way past Arcade and PLH. Arcade's on fresh hards, having a look on the inside of PLH. Arcade has got the freshest tyres of the whole grid, so he is incredibly quick. And he looks to thread his way by the RB. He'll get up to P9, and maybe he can catch Sancho and Maxime in front, give him the clear air. Meanwhile, Nathan hasn't quite been able to stick with Norris. He burnt all the battery he could, but Norris's fresh tyres are starting to come into fruition, and the gap now just 1.2 seconds between him and Portuguese. And he's got to put up some defence if he wants to win this race. Kiwi, actually, the lap car, may actually give him a helping hand with some DRS. As Zyrox gets ahead of Lucas, and that is crucial. I think Frank managed to drop Lucas, or a mistake from Lucas. But Zyrox gets up into P5. And a third and fifth for MGA would be a great result for them. And then they would be the highest scorers, because Zyrox will be promoted to P4, and MGA will all of a sudden thrust themselves back into the title fight in this standings. Meanwhile, Alex Norris with the DRS on Portuguese. So 6 laps remaining, and Portuguese has got 6 laps to put up the best defence of his life. Nathan has dropped off. I think his tyres are completely done. We'll see how much more life Portuguese has got left in his. Alex Norris hot on the heels of him. Meanwhile, Lucas and Zyrox continue to battle for P5. Frank has dropped these two, and this has now left these two in a scrap for P5 until the end of the race, which will become P4. Meanwhile, Norris right on the back of him. Crucially, for Portuguese, he's actually in the DRS of the lap cars of Flipper and Kiwi. If he can stick with these two, then he will get the DRS, but as it stands, Norris may just have a little bit too much grip for him. Similar ERS as we head into the final corner. It is a good exit for Portuguese. The Portuguese burning all the battery he has. He does not want to give this up easily as we head down the main straight. DRS, ERS, slipstream, everything deployed for Alex Norris to retake the lead of this race. Does Portuguese fight it? I think he just has to relinquish it. Fresher tyres for Alex Norris and the lead of the race back for the Kick Sauber. Can Portuguese do anything in response? But look at that traction for Alex Norris. He's just got too much grip for the McLaren, and Alex Norris was on the preferred strategy. Portuguese and Nathan knew they had to try something if they wanted to win this race, but I don't think it's worked out, and unless Portuguese can try and stick with Norris now, it may be TTN on to their first win of the season. And a huge point haul for them, as there is contact. Lucas spinning around at turn 3, and BMB now throwing away their chance at P4 in this race. Zyrox is up to P5, and it is MGA 3-4 currently. Portuguese dropping away from Alex, and this may just be plain sailing till the end of the race for the TCN. And now it's a case of who scored the most points, and I think that honour goes to MGA. TCN will be next behind them. They are currently 1st and 6th as it stands. But Maxime dropping back. Arcade's got ahead of Sancho as well to add to BMB's woes. BMB have had a terrible day here. At the moment, they're going to finish 6th and 9th. And this is going to make the standings incredibly interesting after this race. We could have 4 teams right in the mix with just 3 rounds to go. Meanwhile, this strategy has not worked out. I do wonder if Portuguese might consider pitting for softs just to make sure he doesn't get a puncture. But I think Alex Norris was always too quick for everybody today, and Portuguese and Nathan knew they had to try something if they wanted to beat him today. But unfortunately for them, it's not been enough. And the battles have spread out a little bit now. But what a race this has been, may I say. We may have reached a quiet point in it so far, but this has been an incredible race. Chaos at the start, strategic masterclass from Alex Norris. And Portuguese and Nathan tried their best, but it just was not enough. And there's still battling going on at the back between PLH and Lucas as they scrap for the minor points positions. Williams' outfit have had a dreadful day. They're just towing each other along at the back of the field and doing a bit of fun battling for themselves down in P15. Nathan 2.9 behind Portuguese. We'll see who's managed their tyres the best out of them to see if Nathan's got any hope of catching them back up. But Maxime may come under fire from Arcades towards the end of this race. Maxime has done very well to make it 20 laps on these hards, but Arcades with the freshest hards of the bunch And he's now catching up to the Haas car, and just 3 laps remaining. He could steal P7 at the death for MZPN, and that would be a decent points haul for them. What a drive this has been from Alex Norris. He was fastest in qualifying by 3 tenths, and he's been the fastest in the race, and despite some strategy plans from Portuguese and Nazen, he's overcome them both to really dominate the field today. Let's say keep an eye on that gap. Portuguese is starting to drop off a little. Just 2.2 seconds between them two. It's going to take a quite poor final lap from Portuguese if he loses out to Nazen, but maybe Nazen's just killed his tyres a little more. Portuguese killed his tyres a little more than Nazen, should say. The gap's only 1.9 seconds. Meanwhile, Arcades, I said he would catch up, and he has taken P7. So that is a very good effort from him. If he finds 2 seconds, he could still overtake Frank, who has got that penalty. Actually, it's going to be very close between Frank and Lucas, because Lucas has got a 3 second, Frank has got a 10 second, and the gap is 7.2 seconds. So it's crucial for VMB to try and get ahead of him there. Every point matters for them. And that's going to be very tight at the line between them two, whether Frank Tank can hold a top 5. And the gap now down to 1.4 between second and third. Portuguese, I think, has killed his tyres a lot more than he planned to, and Nazen is just 1.2 behind. And this could get interesting at the line, but they've dropped severely off from Alex Norris, who is now 8.2 seconds clear of the field. It's only taken 3 laps to do that. But what a race Alex Norris has, and seeing the way he's driving today, you'd be surprised that this will be TCN's first win of the season. As he laps the 2 Williams just to show his dominance even further. But a huge point haul this will be for TCN. Frank is currently going to finish ahead of Lucas, so this could be 2 TCNs in the top 5, and they may end up being your highest scorers of the day. But it's been clear that Alex Norris has been your fastest driver of the weekend, and coming out of the final corner, Alex Norris, DRS up to the line, is going to claim a dominant victory here at the Brazilian Grand Prix. He wins round 7 of F2 in EFES. What a drive from Alex Norris. Portuguese is fending off the attack of Nazen and will come home in second place. Portuguese and Nazen, commiserations. They tried the alternate strategy, and in the end, it's still a very good drive to get second and third. We watched the gap between Frank Tank and Lucas. Zyrox will take P4 after his 10-second penalty. Is Frank Tank going to get ahead of Lucas? Here comes VMB up to the line, and he stays in P6 to cap off a disastrous day for the VMB outfit. Arcades nearly got Lucas there at the end. He is P7, great result for MZPN. Maxime is P8, up to the line goes Sancho and Pedro, and Sancho just about held on to P9. I don't think they needed to make VMB's day any worse than it did. Izan will cross the line in P11, PLH P12, and Lucas P13. And Andreas and Kiwi, the only 2 left on the lead lap. And Kiwi, after his race started so well, has spiraled into a disastrous day at the office for Williams. And the last one on the lead lap to cross the line, and that is your order. What a race that was. It was carnage, battles and crashes at the start, and then tactics and strategies are flourishing in the second half. Multiple drivers on different strategies leading to many overtakes and many battles. And what a race that was here in Interlagos. But the biggest talking point to take away from that is that TCN, the highest scorers this weekend, NGA also scoring a huge chunk. Hooker's retirement left Portuguese on his own, and that means Portuguese and JSR were the 3rd highest scorers, and VMB, your championship leaders, 6th and 9th, they were the 4th highest scorers. So the top 4 in the standings all scoring in reverse amounts, which just means that the standings are going to be incredibly close after this race, meaning we have got an incredible final 3 races in store for us, where 4 teams are going to be within a great shot of winning the title. But congratulations to Alex Norris, a dominant lights to flag victory. He had to weave his way through Portuguese and Nazen, but it was no problem for him. Great comeback from Zyrox as well, and Frank Tank. Great drives from them. But what a race that was here in Interlagos. And do be sure to join us back for F1 next weekend on Sunday, and obviously back here on the Tuesday for round 8 of 10 here in EFES F2. But I've been KJ, and thank you all for watching. Goodbye.